if an object is moving with a constant speed, then we say that it is a uniform motion. How do you measure the rate of motion? What is average speed? It is the total distance divided by total time. Equal distances in equal intervals of time, that is called as uniform motion. So what is velocity? Let's understand that. It is very similar to speed, just that it has a direction. Velocity is nothing but displacement divided by time. Hello, hi everyone. So today we are going to learn about speed and velocity. But before that, let's just understand what is uniform and non-uniform motion. So you see there's a flight, it is moving at a steady speed. So example is aeroplane, it is moving at a steady speed. That means constant speed, right? So if an object is moving with a constant speed, then we say that it is a uniform motion. If you plot the distance traveled in the time, you get a straight line. There is another characteristics of a uniform motion. So there is an example. Another example is a revolution of the earth around the sun. That is roughly, so there is not much change in the speed. So that is an example of a uniform motion. Another example, so you see this car, whenever there is a green signal, car will gain the speed. You accelerate, right? And if you see the red light, then you apply the brakes, so car will stop. So there is an example of non-uniform motion. So what is non-uniform motion? So if an object travels unequal distances in equal intervals of time. So you see this here, these are the equal intervals of time. But what is the distance traveled? So this distance traveled is not uniform. That is why there is not a straight line. So if you plot a distance versus time, and if it is not a straight line, then that is an example of non-uniform motion. Okay, and example is a car when you drive on a very crowded road. That is an example of non-uniform motion. Now, how do you measure the rate of motion? So whenever you see this word rate, that means some quantity you divide it with time. For example, what is motion? It can be distance or displacement. So if you divide that with time, so distance divided by time or displacement divided by time, so that is called as rate of motion. So let's just understand what are these two. Have you seen a speedometer in your car or in your bike? So there is something like this. It is written kmph or kilometers per hour. If you see something like this, if a bowler is bowling, then you watch cricket. So below that, they will show the speed of the ball. There is the speed of the ball. But what is speed? Speed is nothing but the total distance traveled divided by total time. So whenever object is moving, it will cover some distance. So if you divide that with time, total distance by total time, you will get the average speed. So there is a formula. What is average speed? It is the total distance divided by total time. And the SI unit of speed is meters per second. How many meters it has traveled in unit time, that is seconds. Okay. Other units can be kilometers per hour. These are some other units. There are many other units, but this is the standard unit, SI unit. Okay. Now, for example, let's solve this question. So this home and the school, the distance between them is 8 kilometers. And for example, the person takes 15 minutes to travel from the home to school. So what is the average speed? So 15 minutes, you can convert it into hours. 15 minutes is 15 divided by 60. These many hours, that is 1/4 hours. Okay. And what is the distance? It is 8 kilometers. So speed, how much is the speed? Speed is distance, that is 8 kilometers divided by, what is the time? 1 by 4 hours. And that will be, you multiply numerator and denominator by 4, you'll get 8 into 4, that is 32 kilometers per hour. That is going to be the average speed of this car. Okay. Now, you see here, these are the different cars. They move at a different speed. So, if the car, these are the equal intervals of time. So, in first interval or first 1 hour, the car has traveled 10 kilometers. Second interval, again the 10 kilometers. Third interval, same. Fourth interval, same. So, whenever car is traveling equal intervals, equal distances in equal intervals of time, that is called as uniform motion, or here the speed is constant. So, the speed does not change with time. But here, you see this time intervals, again the time intervals are equal, but the distance travel in the first hour, it is 20 kilometers, then 5, 10. So, the speed would be 20 kmph, kilometers per hour. Here it would be 5 kilometers per hour, again 5, again 10. So, speed is different. So, there is a non-uniform motion, or you can say the speed is not constant. So, whenever you have a non-uniform motion, the speed is going to be not same, not constant. So, what is velocity? Let's understand that. It is very similar to speed, just that it has a direction. So, whenever object is moving with some speed and it has a direction, it is focused to a particular direction, then we say that it is a velocity. And what is the formula for velocity? It is displacement divided by time. What is velocity? Velocity is nothing but displacement divided by time. For example, if an object starts here, then moves at a random path and return back to this. So, there is an initial point, there is a final point. So, this is the shortest distance, that is our displacement. And for example, if the time taken is t, then for this we have the velocity. So, velocity we can write it as velocity as displacement divided by time. The displacement and the time taken to reach from the initial to the final point. So, these are the differences between speed and the velocity. So, speed is a scalar quantity. It has only the magnitude. It can be 0 or positive. If I am standing here, I am not moving, that means the speed is going to be 0. But velocity, it is the displacement by time. It can be 0, positive and negative. So, how can the velocity be positive or negative? If an object is moving towards right, it is positive. If the object is moving towards left, so the displacement is negative, and because the displacement is negative, time will always be positive. So, negative divided by positive, so the velocity here will be negative. Alright, so these are the differences between speed and velocity. So that's it for today. Thank you so much. Bye bye.